What's up, everybody? DJ Corals, got Bob with me. Today we have a truly special guest, owner of Innovation Design Construction, Wince Lee.
Wince Lee. Hey, this guy, I met this guy. I saw him getting into these heated conversations on Facebook on the Bluegrass Investors Group. And I'll tell you, I don't like getting into other people's drama, but he was pretty much right most of the time. I don't know if I've ever seen him wrong. From there, we've become friends. From that, I hired him to do some work for me down in Jamestown. The quality of work that he's done, and I still find these little things that he did that I wouldn't expect someone to do, right? And since then, his business has exploded, and we've become friends.
I would agree.
So today, we're going to talk about leadership.
We're going to talk about leadership. So
what it means to be a leader, what it means to become a better leader, and what leadership means to all of us.
So welcome to Get Above the Line podcast. Wince, thank you for being here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. So let me start by throwing out there one of the values of our team, leadership, and how we describe it in our team meetings and when we talk about leadership. So we succeed through others. You will have the ability to recruit leaders, lead leaders, and strive to become the best leader possible. Leaders take 100% responsibility for all failures while normally giving the accolades of success to others. That's how we describe it with our team, right? So that's how we roll. So I pulled up some other definitions here. So the one that I wanted didn't show up on the piece of paper, but Webster's now. They have a couple different ones here. So the definition of leadership, the office or position of leadership, right? And the capacity to lead, and the act or instance of leadership molds individuals into a team. So those are the definitions that I thought. So what you got, man?
What do I have?
Yeah. So what do you think, man?
I guess
when we say the word leadership, what does it mean to you?
I think that I'm old school. I've been doing this in the construction business 35 years. So now I'm an old guy in this gig. And even myself needs leadership from the circle that's around him. And I think it's all about the position you put yourself in. Like being in this room right now is to my benefit. I personally feel like, because there's been so much that you personally, Bob, and DJ from comedy, anyway, have brought into my life. And to roll back to the story, kind of the beginning of how me and you became friends, is I started looking at some properties for you to look at rehab costs on some flips. Is how we got started. And that. You ended up buying a couple properties, and we did some remodels for you, and you saw how kind of my ethic. And at that time, I was doing things much more hands-on. Much, I was on every job all the time, and I don't know whether I was enjoying it or not, but I always just felt like that was, this is what I've always been meant to do. And you said something to me. You asked me a question. And the question was, and you're provocative like that. You like to make people think, and I think that spun off of that.
DJ got mad at me about that last night, by the way. He said, "We're not gonna play the question game. Just tell me what you're gonna. Just tell me what you're trying to say." Anyway, sorry. Come on, man. Come on, man.
He gave me that dirty. I got dirty side.
I just wanted the answer.
Man, come on, man.
I just wanted the answer. Man, I don't want to play the rabbit hole.
I would have handed you a beer if we said that.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine, man. So you looked at me and you asked me, and I'm dirty, I'm covered, wearing a tool belt, doing the thing, and you looked at me and you asked me what would be, in your mind, what would be your perfect world if you in this career. And I went on to explain it, and I'm not going to get into it, and blah, 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 because it's pretty much what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's tough.
That's cool.
But one of the things you said to me, almost, I don't know if I go so far as to say it changed my life, but it changed my thinking, in minimum. And you looked at me and it's something that I never even pondered. You just said, you know, you can't do that alone, right? And it just, there was a light bulb moment. And
That's awesome.
That's whenever I realized that I would, in order to achieve the goals that I would have to achieve, or wanted to achieve rather, that I was going to have a really good team.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to be able to delegate, you know,
Yeah.
from a central position. And that just goes straight back to leadership. So there's so many more things involved in what I do now and what I need to think about and the moves that I need to make than there were when I was doing it the way that I was doing it when me and you met.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably in the last few years anyway, as far as leadership goes,
Yeah.
that's my takeaway.
Right.
So like for both of you guys, right? So you both have so thinking about that when it's like you got multiple projects going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you work with a lot of people.
A lot of people.
You work with a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Bob, for years.
Day to day, you know, Laura's behind the camera, but she can attest to it. We had to turn my ringer off and sitting in here doing this live, so this intro, and it's just constant, you know, it's, 50, 60 people a day.
You deal with 50 to 60 people a day.
50, 60 phone calls, texts, yes, a day.
A day.
Every day.
A day. So you got multiple projects.
I probably got
going on.
30
You got people
30 phone calls before 10 o'clock a.m.
every day.
Every day.
And Bob, agents, right? Selling 300 houses a year. Like with you guys, like with that, right? You got people that you lead all the time.
Right.
Like for somebody else that's just stepping into this, that's just stepping into leadership or that wants to become a better leader, like you got any advice for them or what would you say? Like what are some of the things that you've learned in the process of getting to where you're at?
Well, there's two words that go together. Whenever when talking about leadership in this kind of subject, and leadership and loyalty. It's just a big one. If you don't have that with your team, and you can't trust your team, and that goes both ways. Your team's going to trip up sometimes, and they're going to fall in the hole. And at that point in time, that's where that loyalty comes in. It's going to cost you money as the leader of the gig. You know what I'm saying? Whenever people do delegate it to
those leads, man, those leads. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So people are going to fall in holes.
Burning money.
Yeah, you're going to
Like that
burn
big
money.
pile
And you
of
got to be
money.
okay with it.
You got to point thumbs. You got to point thumbs.
Yes,
You got to point thumbs.
That's right.
You got to set the expectations. You got to be crystal clear on what the expectations are.
I agree.
Because if you think back to all the mistakes that other people have made, whose fault is it? Whose responsibility is it? I mean,
agree.
making the big bucks is not easy, right? It's not easy. If it was, everybody would do it.
Call me out making big bucks. No.
Buying big boats, having extra boats sitting
the tax
around.
man might be watching.
You talk about me, but that's big, man. Dealing with other people's
other people's deficiencies, and everybody's got them. We all got these, we've all got these problems. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to that, that's another one of mine and your things, that there's no such thing as perfection, and to strive for it is.
I think about that every time I'm blowing leaves.
Right.
I almost call them every time I blow leaves at the cabin, because I blow leaves I haven't mowed my lawn in Lexington for probably since I've lived in Lexington. I haven't had a lawnmower. I haven't owned a lawnmower in 11 years in Lexington. But at the lake, I do all my own stuff. So the leaf blower, this time of year especially, I'm spending 2 hours blowing leaves.
Yeah. See Bob at it.
I'm out there blowing leaves. Get out of here. Every time I think about that, that was something that you said to me. That's something that I got from you.
Yeah.
It's almost every time I get done blowing leaves, I almost call them every time.
And that's circle's important.
But if you think about that, like if I was gonna get up because I like things to look clean and crisp, every single leaf, because every time you turn around, another one fell out of the tree. Right? Like you're gonna be backtracking and circling, making circles the whole time, or you just push it all off. And then if you want to go back and fix it later, so that's what you had said to me. Perfection is the enemy of, or Winston Churchill said it. Winston Churchill said it.
It's a Winston Churchill.
It's a Winston better.
Perfection's the enemy of good, is what I said.
Right.
And Winston Churchill's quote is perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
It basically means the same thing.
Right.
But
get it done.
Get it done.
And then go back and fix it.
Get it done and then drop back.
Yeah, if you need to.
if you need
Most
to,
times you don't.
well, it just all depends on the age of your team and the people that you're delegating to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to have that learning curve. There, especially when we were first starting. You know, we need to drop back to lick our calf. Is
Yeah.
the way my dad used to put it. You know, or you know, that's just one of my dad's old saying: "Go back and lick your calf." I'd leave the door all open all the time in the house and go back and lick your calf. You know.
Yeah.
So the same situation. You're going to forget things. Things are going to slip. People aren't perfect. It's not a perfect world.
Yeah.
But that comes back to leadership and loyalty.
Tying in you guys two things, right? You talk about perfection, right? You talk about setting clear expectations, right? So even when you set clear expectations and you want perfection, it doesn't always work out that way, right? It's like, how do you
Especially when you hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Especially when you hand it off to somebody else.
It's
and
very tough.
they're putting your name on the line.
That's right.
Right, so
Like-
let me go here real quick. So you
Yeah,
say, right, you're pointing thumbs, right? Everything comes back to you.
That's right.
Right.
And you feel like you've set really clear expectations with someone and they don't do things at the level that
You expect them to.
Yeah, that you expect them to.
Yeah. The expectations were not met. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, that's one of those things that depends on how many times you have to go through that with that person. And then at a certain point, you're going to have to decide whether that person's a good part of your circle.
At a very young age, my dad handed me the keys to the restaurant. I grew up in a family restaurant, and like the whole time I'm the owner's kid, right? And people thought my family had money because they owned a restaurant. And I don't know. I think they were broke. Like I think ultimately,
Italian look.
I think ultimately that it wasn't. I mean, but I was like 19 or 20, this thing switched in my head, and instead, because when you work in a restaurant, you ever work in a restaurant?
McDonald's when I was very
Okay.
young. KFC was my first job.
So
KFC and McDonald's.
KFC was my
I know
first
you worked
job,
a restaurant because
15
that's where we
years old.
met.
That's the one,
Right?
That's the only restaurant that I ever worked
Well,
at.
the
was
thing-
it?
The Chop House.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I missed that place so bad here in Lexington.
You get a discount on a steak?
Nah, I had the discount on everything. Again, the taxman might
I
be
can't talk
watching.
about how good Chop House was. I might have to piss off some of my clients.
Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
So I was like 19, and you know, the whole thing at restaurants is everybody blames the shift before them. They're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
day shift didn't stock this, or they didn't do that, or this is. So there was this moment, and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do everything, because I was cooking at the time.
Right.
I was cooking in the kitchen,
I've been there.
and I said, I'm just gonna do
Everything.
You can't
I'm
do it.
just gonna do everything.
That must have been when you developed that quote you told me that changed my world. Right?
Maybe. I mean, so then it was weird because not weird, but there was a transition at that moment from me being the owner's son to me being a leader at that
Right.
moment, because I wasn't complaining about people and I was taking responsibility for everything that was going on. I'm going to take responsibility first, and if
Right.
I've got to hand it off to somebody, I'll do it later. And I'm still not even 20 years old, and there's 60 employees there. I'm still the owner's son. But so moving forward, maybe like 3 weeks after that, my dad says, I'm going to Florida, and threw me the keys to the restaurant. He said, you're in charge. And that was my transition from the kitchen
Got kicked out of the nest.
to management.
Yeah.
My dad threw me the keys. And so I got thrown into it really quick, and really like all of a sudden, I wasn't good at it. I had no training. I knew all the systems in the restaurant, and I knew what people were supposed to do. But there's a difference between knowing what people are supposed to do and getting them to do it, right?
Well, that's like the difference between knowing how to do something and being able to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You watch a YouTube video and know how to do it. You read the back of it, something to cook, know how to, you're
Yeah.
supposed to do it. But
So I there was a spot that you could sit in the front of the restaurant, and you could see underneath the bus cart, and it was like where all the dishes come out, but then there was garbage all over the place. But when people were sitting there to get a carry out, they would be sitting at this table and they saw all this garbage on the floor. And it was like one of my pet peeves.
right.
And as time went on, and I'm telling people, keep this area clean, keep this area clean. I mean, this is a turning point in my life, because I would like yell at people, and I was like an asshole, and I would like get into people's shit. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Then I took somebody over, and we went and sat on the booth, and it was busy, and we went and sat down on that carryout booth, and we looked over there, and the garbage was all over. We could see the garbage on the floor. We could see people going by, garbage falling off of plates and hitting the floor, and it's all over. And you could, all the servers are walking past and slipping on the food. I said, this is why we need to keep this area clean. I mean, you can see what it looks like.
Right.
From that point, that was like a turning point of my leadership, right? Because it went from me like telling people what to do to like showing them why it needed to be done and what needed to be done. So that's what it makes me think about. But that's just way back. I mean, there was just a moment there, and then after that, it's amazing because that area stayed clean for the rest of my career in the restaurant. In my dad's restaurant, that area was always clean from that point forward, because I think that other people carried that on because they understood it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
That's awesome. Because you think about it, like what it makes me think about, like, you know, you hear companies go as far as the leader goes, right? And then what it makes me think about is my wife and I were having a conversation the other day about our kids, and you know, with your kids, especially when they're young, you just want them to go do. Like, just do what I say to go do. If I say, you know,
Because I said so mentality.
Because I said so. Just go do it, right? And we say, just go. Why? Why? Just go do it.
Try that with real estate agents.
And we're talking about our 5-year-old
Try that with a
kid.
construction guy.
Yeah, a painter.
Exactly.
A painter.
Bear with me, Wentz.
Anybody.
Bear with me, Wentz. This is where we're going.
I'm waiting.
Bear with me.
I got my coffee cup up here in front of my face. So I can.
We got to come back. You got to tell the bear story. You got to tell the bear story.
I don't know. We can go right here.
Okay, but to shorten it, you know, and we're talking, and we're like, wow. We tell our son to go do something. He's very strong-willed. And we say, go do this. And he's like, why? And this time we just sit down and we give him the reasoning behind it. And we're talking to my wife afterwards, and I'm just like, can you believe it? They have their own, like, whole little lives.
Yeah.
So think about it that way. So when you're thinking about it that way, everybody that we're leading, they have their own lives. They have their own goals. They have their own things that they want to accomplish.
They do.
So it's like having the empathy and the understanding to know that they're people too.
Right.
And not just, they're not just pieces to my puzzle.
Right.
Helping them get what they want.
Well, man,
That's big.
there's something you kind of touched on. I think of it in a different way, and I really don't think about it much because I feel I don't guess I don't. It's not that I don't think about it. It's that I don't talk about it probably. But when you do what I do and you affect as many people, and there's I'm a money pump, basically, and an information pump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
How many people send you Venmos?
Nobody now, because I got away from that shit.
When people send you money?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, but not very often. I mean,
DJ tried to send me some money. I don't even know what to do. I send Venmos 15 times a day, and I don't know how to receive them. Go ahead, though. Sorry.
But you affect a lot of people's lives, and it's something that I didn't anticipate even dealing with or thinking about, or because when you start this, you're about you. You're about your idea, your business, pushing that forward. The whole dream, what you describe to people whenever they tell you can't do that alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you start it, you're thinking about that. But I think when it actually happens, when it manifests, when what you've got on that board in your mind, that whole thing with all these people comes together and it starts working like a machine. And then it starts affecting people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most humbling feelings that you could ever have as a human being, I think, is to watch somebody else's life be better because you chased something that was one of your dreams. And it was so big that it pushed into other people's lives.
And now it allows it's helping them also advance their life.
Yes. And that's an amazing feeling as a leader, I think. And that's probably a good spot, Lori, to head that off. How many we have on there?
At one time, 17, and it would go down, it would come up, and
Yeah.
so it was moving along.
That's not bad.
Really?
That was fire.
Oh,
That
wow.
was good.
We gotta
close it out.
Oh, yeah, I
We gotta
know.
close it out.
I know, but just to pump that into you guys,
Yeah.
that was excellent.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is we'll just go back to the live and put a comment or head it and say something about, it can be watched on, put a link to.
Oh, yeah, we'll link there. We'll link
YouTube
there.
page.
Yes, absolutely. That's where you want to link to, right?
Yeah, the YouTube page. Okay.
That was good.
So now what? Keep that up.
we wrapped it.
But no, I'm serious about that. Whenever that's, now that we're not on live, you talk a little bit more in depth about that, and you often edit some of this stuff out if it makes us look bad. It's surreal.
Yeah.
Ron's building a house.
Who?
Ron, my lead.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Renting a house and destitute, man. I mean, it's not destitute, but getting by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Building the house.
Watching his grandkids be being born. Helping his daughter out.
If it's okay, how old is that?
How old is Ron?
Mm-hmm. He's 60s.
No, he's early 40s, late 30s. I don't know exactly.
Grandkids?
Yeah. I'm 50 and I got 5, man. Don't hate the player. It's a game.
I'm 45.
I'm out of this shit at 53. I'm headed to Florida, dude.
My parents are.
You know what I mean? I got 3 years and I'm out. I'm gone. I
got 3
can't
more
help
years?
it. Yeah, 3 more years. My boy's 18.
Eli.
Yeah, Eli's 18. 3 more years.
So you talk about that 3 more years, you're gonna be down in Florida, right? Like we can't have this
that's the
conversation
plan.
without you being that.
That's the plan.
Without
We
bringing
all
up the
just have
lake.
to come up to Florida.
It's down.
And yeah, Lake Cumberland in Kentucky ain't the only place in the world to do real estate. Shit, man, we can win anywhere. It ain't gotta be.
Let's talk about Lake Cumberland.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about your boat.
What about
No, I
it?
don't want to mess with
No,
you,
go
man. I
ahead.
don't wanna mess
No,
with
it's
you.
fine. I'm good with it. I'm huge.
I got to see you in your prime, man. I got to see the boat skipping off the water.
Yeah.
No more.
Like, why do people take these
I've
fast?
got it. I told it.
Why do these
You
people
know that,
take
right?
these fast boats in the middle when there's logs all over the water? What are they doing?
That's just
Racing across the lake. They're not. You can't. Even, you're going so fast you can't dodge logs. That's how fast they're going.
giant
Can't dodge logs.
balls, man. Giant balls.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. Just bouncing off the water. I know y'all can edit this shit out.
We're not going to.
Not this. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can use that. I don't care.
That's really good. Like
I even sign off on it.
I do want to know though. Like what's
What's
because
the
I know we
drive?
talked about a few things. Like
I think
I
it's. What's the drive on the boating thing? Or are you going somewhere else?
was going back to leadership, man, because I really want to know. You deal with a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
what are some what are some challenges that, like, now you're, like you said, you're obviously in a different place now than where you
Yeah.
were. Like, as you've been building, how long you been on the journey of IDC?
Since my divorce, I would say, if I was going to be fair to the progress and the process that got me here. So, now 12 years. I'm 3 times better if you look at my finances. Not to get into numbers and stuff like that, but before my divorce, that was probably my divorce, and the years directly after that was the worst part of my life. If looking back on it, I can't imagine my life will ever be that bad again.
Were you in the position of, were you doing the construction thing then? Or were you like hold with it? Did you have a team?
No team. It's just,
It was at that point. It was just
the
you.
The team was I.
The team was I. So
Yeah.
as you over time, as you progressed, and you have multiple projects going on. Like, what are some of the challenges that you're like, man, I could have easily avoided that one.
Right.
I could have the challenges in
I
leadership.
think the biggest challenge in me is from a leadership point, and I got to watch myself here because I still got a fuse. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There is a point of which I know my buttons, and and I only say this because people press them on the regular sometimes. but I think I'm much more open to people that I delegate things to failing. I think I'm much better at forgiving, because the person that is doing the task can get better at doing the task, but you generally can't get somebody that may be good at that task to get better at being a human being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
People are who they are.
People are who they are.
And if they're good people,
They can learn.
that was another conversation we had when we first talking.
man.
I said, "What type of people are you?
It's about the people.
What type of people who are you trying to hire?" Because you were talking about hiring people.
Oh yeah, I remember another conversation. Now that you said,
He
mentioned
said, well,
one of
they've
your
got-
biggest
they've got-
tips too.
They've got to have a car They've got to have their own tools. They've got to have. I had a whole long list.
And then I worked Ronnie, drove a scooter for how many years? Ronnie drove a scooter.
I said, man, you'll be lucky if they show up, and even better if they show up on time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, expecting them to have a car, a bag of tools, and a great attitude, and on time with a,
They got it all together.
like, why are they gonna come work
Why
with
they
you?
gonna come work with me?
Yeah,
right.
it's about like.
Yeah, that sounds like that's your competition.
Yeah, right.
Rather than your employee.
Right. So
and
it's like
you open my eyes to that.
Yeah.
And one of the things you want to hire, what you're looking for. What you said to me, I think I may be off a little bit on the words, but one of the things you said to me was you want to look for developing an emerging talent.
Emerging talent, yeah, right. Because there's unproven talent. That's somebody that's never wanted anything.
Right.
They're green behind. They got wet behind the ears, right? Like they haven't done anything. They might have a great attitude. They might say that they're good at things,
right,
but they've never accomplished anything. And then emerging talent is someone that's been successful at something else. They've been successful at something.
Or I'll be honest with you, man. Like a housewife, somebody that's never done anything before in their life.
Yeah.
That attitude and the integrity that that person has and carries with them, they want to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They got to want to do it. They got to want to be what you want them to be. They got to want to be good at what they're doing.
It's like being the best at where you're planted at, because like, man, I mean,
you got to grow where you're at.
Grow where you're at, because it's
Right.
like having that conversation. If you are, do you go off of that one? If you are a stay-at-home mom or housewife or whatever term you want to use for it, go be the absolute best at it.
Absolutely.
But I think the other thing, like John Shevlak says, like, you're not going to make people more productive, right? Like, you can't think you're going to like train people to like when you said like if people mess up, like you can train people to do. You can train people to do a task, but you can't train them to be a better person. You can't train them to want more than they already want.
Yes.
Like they're in this place.
You gotta have that desire in that.
They gotta have
that drive.
Yeah, that piece of it. Like you can show them like a bigger world and what the possibilities
What that
are.
could be.
But ultimately, you're not going to get someone out of bed in the morning. They're either going to get out of bed or they're not. They're going to have a drive to do something. It's more about giving them the tools and the training to be efficient at what you want them
Or
to do.
even the highway.
Yeah.
All they got to do is get on and drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of what I do.
Right.
I just facilitate that for people that want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
And,
that's good.
I think that's the path.
But they gotta want to do it.
They got to want to do it. And not only that, if they're working with me, I got to have that integrity. I got to have that loyalty. Me and Bob's got mad at each other before. We ain't walking on each other. You know what I mean? You work that out. That goes,
We did.
What's more important?
That's really big. You said, so two things I want to unpack here. Like, one, you said, giving people the power of thought, giving them a leash. Like, it's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? Because you see a lot of leaders, it's not okay. You make a mistake, and when someone is fearful of making a mistake, then they cannot operate at their highest capacity.
No, they cannot. It's like asking a parachuter to parachute out that plane, but telling they're scared to jump.
Yeah.
For fear they're gonna mess up.
You gotta
Kick them in the ass.
give them a little boost, man.
And that's part of being a leader. That's a really, really big one. It's like giving
is.
people the power of thought, like, hey, you can own this task. And it's okay to make
Yes.
mistakes, because that's the only way we're gonna really learn and grow together. And when they do mess up, having not having it.
And you're gonna know as a leader too, when people screw up. Not to get specific, but you know what I mean? When people screw up, do they want
Like their
are
reaction.
they feeling it? Are they feeling it?
Or they assume responsibility for it.
Not only that, but do they feel the pressure from it?
Yeah.
Like they know it's costing you money.
Yeah.
They know it. Can they feel that? Are they feeling it like you're feeling it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're not.
Well, some are, and those are the people you want.
Yeah, right.
When they know, you don't have to tell them. Let me look that up. When you don't have to tell them. Like I got guys that screw up. I don't feel the need to tell them and get on their butt, because I know them well enough to know they're already on their own. They're stressed over it, trying to,
That's what
they're digging.
Yeah.
They're digging. They're trying to, get to the other side of that mistake. And so when you've got really good people I don't feel the need so much to be the principal.
Speaking of that, DJ, I mean, you haven't talked at all.
Man, I like.
So I've been walking.
He's a damn good reporter.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best question askers. He gets people talking better than anybody I've ever seen.
That's good though.
Can I ask one more though?
Yeah,
one more. Was the conflict resolution? Because I don't want to lose it. Is the conflict resolution? Because as you're leading people, there's going to be times where they don't meet expectations.
Yeah, I think you got to be. Whenever you're in your circle, your circle's got to understand that sometimes y'all might scream and holler at each other, and then you just step away for a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the marriage. It's just a fight.
That right there. Because like what kind of, you know what I mean? Like in a relationship, like it's not a marriage, but it's a marriage.
It is a marriage.
Relationships are relationships, and when you're dealing with people, and it's you're gonna have disagreements.
I'm loyal to a fault. You know what I mean? As a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of expect that from people, not entirely, because I'm probably more so than most people are. So you don't want to set your expectations too high, because then all of a sudden you're putting yourself in a position where that you are allowed to screw up pretty bad and still get forgiveness. Because you don't want to go around with that mentality. We're not seeking perfection, but we are seeking good. You know what I mean?
It's like
at minimum.
Like, and I know, like we've had agents, and like we deal with a lot of agents, and like when you have that, there's times where things don't align. Whether it's an agent on another side of a deal, or whether it's an agent that works with us, or that's a partner in our office.
Yeah.
Like you had to deal with a lot. When you, like, just give some insight on that. Like when you've had to go through the situations with.
I usually wait for a telemarketer to call me. And then I take it out on them. I'm just kidding.
You want a funny story? Funny story segue, man. My dad, he's telling these telemarketers used to call the house all the time. It's landline age, right? So telemarketers, they call, man. Dad get them on the phone, and he start acting really interested in what they go on for 30 minutes, Oh, really? Man, that sounds great. Dad be on the phone. I hear him in there, what? And just to clarify, my parents never took a dime of any kind of welfare assistance or anything like that. But he'd let them go through their whole spiel, and they get, all right, well, we'll get you set up, blah, 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 blah. He's like, all right, y'all take food stamps? Blink, dial tone. And every time. They never even call back. Like, that was Dad's way. Mom would be over, don't you know? She don't want nobody to know.
I think there's times when those emotional, like, as a leader, and some people call it screaming. I call it speaking with emotion.
Speaking of tongues.
Passion.
I'm right here. Passion. When they say that, my response to somebody that says, "Why are you yelling at me?" I'm like, "You just wasted your turn to talk. I had a chance, and now it's over."
Yeah.
Right back at it. But no, I feel like sometimes those things are important. I feel like it's important, and not to say, like, it is. You gotta have control. You can't be out of control. Yeah. You can't be out of control. But I mean, if there's something that you really care about, and it's just like the communication thing, right? Like, what are the percentages? You had them written up on the board today. Communication
is 55% body language, 38% tonality, and only 7% of the actual words that we say. Like, for example, I can say,
right.
I can say one thing in one way, and if I raise my voice like this and say it again, it has a completely different, completely different.
100%.
So I feel like sometimes having a normal tone doesn't hold enough weight.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't hold enough weight, and not to say that whatever. I mean, but.
Well, for example, like you try
to justify screaming at people, man.
That's not screaming. Maybe. But look, when I scream, spit comes out of my mouth, and that's usually that's when you know. When spit comes out of my mouth, that means I'm screaming. But when I get just like into something, spit comes out of my mouth. I'm not yelling.
It's like that lesson you taught me. It makes me think about a lesson that you said. You was like, we had to let people go before, and they always want to know why. Like right there, and that's when they said an emotional high. Like why, and it's like
I said so.
having the, I said so. It's like having that like groundedness to be like, I'm okay to have the conversation with you. And if you still want to have this conversation in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long.
Yeah, we're not going to have the conversation right now.
If you let your emotions, if you both are meeting at an emotional high.
I agree.
I learned that from LTFG.
Yeah.
Getting ready to fire someone, Google it up.
Mm-hmm.
Google it up. How do I fire someone? And that's what I learned that from that. You know, like it's like
I've never been good at firing people, man.
I mean,
Firing
I've had
people
to
and
fire
breaking
a lot
up
of
with
people.
women. It's always been a
I've
trouble.
had to fire a lot of people.
People and breaking up with women.
But
It's like,
you know,
tell me,
same thing.
do something bad.
It's here's the thing. It's like
Wins. Wins.
I like firing people. If you need me to fire someone, I will.
I know you got the face for it. Too.
Well, I think that I get nervous to do it
Yeah.
myself. I don't want to make somebody feel bad, and I don't want to make
Right.
someone feel like they're not doing the job. But look, at the point you fire somebody,
They're not doing the
they
job.
know. They already know.
They gotta
and
know.
everybody on the team knows.
Right.
And I've learned more from firing top people in this company than like you let them hang out. That is like poison.
It's
like
poison.
It's
Yeah.
like poison because even if you think that everybody respects them, you find out real quick that you're not the only one that feels that way.
It's not that. What ends up happening is the team loses respect for you because you're not taking the best interest in the team
right.
by not cutting the fat.
Right.
You know. So
Yeah, it's a big one.
it is. It's tough sometimes too, man. You know all these people, like I said, you impact their life when you get to a certain level of impact and you're starting to affect people's lives. That can go both ways. So I mean, it's heavy.
Like
When you start thinking about it.
Sounds like the consensus is that leadership it's an ongoing process all the time, and it's not easy.
It's an honor and a burden, is what it is.
My newest.
I don't know which one it is
My
more
newest
of,
version of
but-
it is just me. Like, I feel like that's the part that I was missing all this time. They say, "Oh, well, you've got to be a good leader. You have to be a good example." Right? So I've always internalized that as, well, I need to get on the phones. I need to convert leads.
No, that's
I
not
need
necessarily true.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to do the job that I'm expecting everyone else to do. And it's just been over the past, well, it was 2 years and a couple months, February of 2020, that video clip I showed you. Mm-hmm. That was a moment in the sand that's been amplified because that's where my mind opened to it. You know, like that's where my mind opened to the fact that I needed to concentrate on myself and I needed to concentrate on
what you're good at.
Personal development.
No, personal development.
Personal development is the way.
Like what I'm saying is instead of me like micromanaging things, but there are a few things I still micromanage, and I'm not. It's really hard.
Well, I mean, it's hard not
to. But like instead of that, just being an example to everyone I'm around with my health and with my learning and with getting better every day. Like I can't say, DJ, read this book. Read the book.
Right.
Like I have to read the book, and I have to that what I learned from that book has to like radiate from my being for him to be interested in the book. You know, like
Right.
it can't be like you can't tell people. You can't say do this, this, and this. It's like you have to do it, and you have to be that person for them to. And I think as a leader over the past couple of years, since that moment, that clip, that video, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Mm-hmm. Since that video clip, I've made more. I've had more growth as a leader than the whole other 43 years of my life. And I've been a leader my whole life. I told you I got thrown the keys at 19 years old, 20 years old,
Same.
and I was running. I had 60 employees that thought I was a punk kid, right? That I had to get them to wear deodorant and wash their shirt before they come to work, and they think I'm a spoiled rich kid, right? Like, it was not an easy job. But from that point to this point, the past 2 years, just flipping it around and not like expecting things from other people, but expecting, like, holding myself to a different standard and leading myself.
It's like continually focusing on personal development.
It's like, yeah, like, because you always like trying to like lead other people. How do you lead other people if you don't pay attention to yourself and what you're doing as a person?
It's like the difference between responsibility and concern. I can be concerned about your growth, and I can be concerned
not
about your
responsible
development,
for it.
but that's not my responsibility.
Right.
I agree.
But it's my responsibility to make sure, my personal responsibility is to make sure that I'm growing every single day as a leader.
Amen.
That I'm growing every single day. That's the difference between like responsibility. There's things that we're responsible for, and there's things that we're concerned about. And something that you cannot be responsible for someone else's commitment to their growth.
You absolutely can. It's all in them.
I think we just close right there, man. That's it.
Yeah, I'm good.
I love that.
Good guys.
I
think
love
y'all
that.
killed it, man.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Nobody asked you any questions.
It's too late now, man.
It's too late.
We're at the time. We're at time, baby. This was a great conversation, y'all.
was.
It was a really great conversation. Like Wentz, greatly appreciate your time and your insight and your vulnerability to share. Bob, same to you. Like
Next
leading
time.
front lines all the time. Like you guys are both greatly appreciated, and I appreciate the time that we were able
I
to spend
appreciate
together
you
today.
guys.
Next time we'll talk about being a Facebook troll.
Yeah.
Facebook troll and going on
Not you.
and going on
associated with them.
and going on a bear hunt.
Going on
Going
bear.
on
Oh, you
bear.
want to tell the bear story? It's a little late now. It's too late. Next time.
We got some bait for next time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
See ya.